Actually, no, not for me. I've always admired franchises like Star Wars, but I've never really been the biggest fan. I think they're good movies, I just don't understand the buzz behind them. Yeah, I've got them on Blu-ray, maybe I should watch them again. But today, we're not talking about Star Wars, and instead I want to talk about a different franchise created by LucasArts. Now, in the early 90s, I didn't know much of anything about this company's fantastic games. Even when I got my Gateway 2000 PC, all my attention was set on the early RTS and theme games for the system. You see, I was still a Sega kid at heart, and eventually PlayStation. And my PC, which was not connected to the internet, was sort of confusing to me, so most of the time it was just sitting there. But hey, who needs the internet when you got Encarta 95, am I right?
Let there be justice for all.
With hope. Good morning.
Actually, the few experiences I had with the PC were in fact fantastic. You got your Worms Reinforcements, Railroad Tycoon. I already mentioned Theme Park. You got The Sims, Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun.
Chandra, you son of a bitch.
That 3D Space Cadet pinball game? Hover? Anyway, I'm going off track here. As you may have guessed, it was a long time before I eventually discovered LucasArts games like Monkey Island. However, there was one game that really grabbed me, and that game was not on my PC, but back on the trusty Mega Drive. Zombies Ate My Neighbours. I think it was the OTT 90 style of the game that grabbed me. Just look at this guy. You can just tell that he was born in the rad 90s era of Bart Simpsons and Dennis the Menace and Sonic the Hedgehogs. Having games like Zombies Ain't My Neighbours just worked for me. It fits in so perfectly next to games like Earthworm Jim, Boogerman, Global Gladiators and Decapitac. Now some might say it's just a product of its time, but I disagree. Just look at the art style of games like Sunset Overdrive and you'll see that there is still a very large group of people out there that want something like this. So where to start? How about Maniac Mansion? The early point-and-click adventure game released in 1987 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This was the first job that artist Michael Ebert at LucasArts worked on as an artist. Several projects later, Ebert wanted to get more involved in the designing side of the games, and that's exactly what he did, with fellow employee Kalani Stisha. Whilst the two were toying around with new ideas for games, LucasArts tasked the pair to create an Empire Strikes Back sequel for the NES, which was released in 1992. After the success that was The Empire Strikes Back, Zombies Ate My Neighbours started to take shape. In the game, you play as either Zek or Julie, and it's your task to stop the zombies from eating your neighbours. Duh. It's the work of evil Dr. Tongue that has unleashed monsters in each level to get in your way from saving all 10 of your neighbours. All 10 of your neighbours. So it's not really Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Maybe it should be called Zombies Ate My Street. Yeah, okay, that doesn't sound as good. I think I'll stick to the YouTube videos. If you don't get to them in time, you will die. And from this moment on, you will only have 9 neighbours to save per level. This number keeps reducing until it's game over, or you complete the game, where you get told by George Lucas himself to get back to work. How's that for some game credits? So move over, Monkey Ball and Smash Brothers. Actually, yeah, they're both pretty good too. But anyway, let's get back to this one. Now, as you walk around the LucasArts office, you get to see a pixel form of some of the talented guys that worked on the game. And thankfully, for Slope's Game Room, I was actually able to grab an exclusive interview from Zombies Ate My Neighbours lead animator, Colette Michaud. Colette not only worked on this game, but she also worked on such greats as Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, Monkey Island 2, Mortimer and the Riddles of the Medallion, DroidWorks, Star Wars Math, Jabba's Game Galaxy, and the oh so fantastic Sam & Max Hit the Road. she explains that when she created artwork for the game, that she would first create the artwork on the PC and then transfer it to Nintendo's low-res screen format to make sure it translated right. It was a time-consuming process, however the Nintendo platform was also very forgiving in that it didn't show details, so it was a bit like painting an impressionistic painting. You had to stand back from it to make sure everything was coming together in the way you wanted it to. Up close, it looked like a mess. The game takes you to some pretty weird places. You've already seen the back garden and the LucasArts building, but your adventures will also take you to the shops, a hedge maze, inside a pyramid, to a dungeon, as well as a slight variation on all of these ideas. Now, how many variations do you ask? Well, look at it this way. The game has 55 levels. Yes, 55 levels. Having a game of this size back in the day is almost unheard of. Talk about bang for your buck. Colette explains that Mike used classic horror movies such as Frankenstein, Dracula and Creature from the Black Lagoon as inspiration. And over those 50 levels, you really can see that inspiration that these films had on the game. All in all, the game is great. Even to this day, it holds up impressively well. If you somehow missed out on this gem when you was younger and you fancy something a little different in the retro arena, then Zombies Ate My Neighbours will be just for you. To find out more about Zombies Ate My Neighbours, Colette's time with the company LucasArts and what it was like working with such greats as George Lucas, Steve Purcell, Tim Schafer and Mary Burr, then I highly suggest you check out the short but incredibly exclusive Slopes Game Room interview in the link found in the comments section. So while Zombies Ate My Neighbours was getting some great reviews, the team started working on a new title, not related to the original in any way. Metal Warriors was a game released on the SNES and not the Mega Drive, and due to this it completely fell off my radar. Recently, however, I was able to pick it up, and you know what? It kicks ass. Anyway, while the guys worked on this, LucasArts got another team working on another game similar to Zombies Ate My Neighbours, and in fact they used the very same engine. However, it is reported that Michael Ebert didn't mind this at all. He recalls that during development of the game that eventually became Gore Patrol, it didn't really look much like the original at all, and instead it sort of looked like its own game. Obviously, this is not what we ended up getting. Gore Patrol took what the original did and ran with it. But unfortunately, Gore Patrol isn't the greatest runner. The game is, in a word, meh. It falls short compared to what is probably one of the most interesting games on the system. It had a shortened time frame compared to the original, and in the end it only had 17 stages. Also, during production, the game was being made side by side for both the Mega Drive and SNES, until it was eventually dropped on the Mega Drive side. And all we got was the SNES version. Now, bashing the game aside, it is still quite fun, especially in 2-player, and is still worth your time. It's just not as good, and the game got between average and good scores as a result. Now, the Zombies Ate My Neighbours games, although produced by LucasArts, were actually mostly published by Konami. According to Ebert, the reason for this was because LucasArts didn't want to put the cash forward to make the cartridges, and because of this, Konami were the guys that made most of the money from these great LucasArts games. Now you may be thinking, why are you bringing this up? Well, it's believed that it's because of this reason alone that LucasArts decided not to continue with the franchise. So unfortunately, this was the end of the Zombies Ate My Neighbours trilogy. The year is 1997 and it's been 3 years since you've heard anything of the Zombies franchise. However, Dean Hall and Mike Ebert return once again for what is believed to be the true sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Sorry, Gore Patrol.
Springtime in ancient Greece, a carpet of greenery unrolls across the land. Trees, flowers, fruits and vegetables, the bounty of spring, blossoms under the guiding hand of Persephone, the goddess of spring.
You are mine.
Ah, but if Hades has his way, winter will arrive a little early this year.
Now obviously Gore Patrol looked the part, but for me and everyone else that's played it, it all comes down to Herc's Adventure. This had the original team back together again, and although I personally only recently discovered the game, I am so happy I was able to pick this one up. So why am I showing you this on the Saturn? You may have played this game when it was released on the PlayStation 1. But if you really want to truly experience Herc's Adventure the way it was intended to be played, then the best and really only way to play it is on the Saturn. You see, the game was made for the Saturn and eventually ported to the PlayStation 1. Anyway, Herc's Adventure is more of the same, but in my opinion it's even better. Sure, I prefer the style of zombies because, well, you know, zombies. But overall, Herc's Adventure is the better game, it's got better graphics, tweaked gameplay, better music, and who voices the star of the show Hercules? Dan Castellaneta, who is most famous for voicing none other than the world's most famous dad. The game finds yourself going up against all the classic Greek gods you read about at school, such as Hades, Hydra and Medusa, to name a few. Obviously it's not the best cartoon rendition of Hercules, but let's be honest, will there ever be a better version than that? Like I said, Herc's Adventure is very similar to both zombies and ghouls, and in my opinion, it's the cream of the crop. If you're lucky enough to find the Saturn version, then go and get it. Now it's safe to say that all three games are fondly remembered and sought after by collectors of the desired consoles of their choice. And for me, no SNES or Sega Saturn collection is complete without these absolute gems.
Welcome to Zombieland.
What a fantastic film. You know what, there are so many zombie movies and TV shows out there, and although you may be sick of them, it's normally the comedy ones that do the trick at the box office. Well, it was reported that after watching Zombieland, John Darko, famous for his work on the brilliant Insidious movie, actually wrote a script for a Zombies Ate My Neighbours movie. But this was back in 2011. Has it been cancelled? Who knows? Some films take ages to get funding sorted. Maybe that's the issue. Hopefully one day we will see this movie, and when that day does hopefully come, feel free to come back here to see my full review.
With Black Ops 3, we're creating the deepest and most engaging Call of Duty ever. Across the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies, and zombies, and zombies, and zombies, and zombies.
Now there's a lot of competition out there in the zombie gaming world. Why? Because the world loves zombies. So like it or lump it, we have not had our fill of zombie brain just yet. But before you stick your teeth into even more capture the flag / brain overpriced DLC for the latest Medal of Duty game, maybe it's time to sink your teeth back into Zombies Ate My Neighbours one last time before it's too late. Brains. Hey guys, thanks for watching my review. If this is the first time you've ever watched a Slopes Game Room episode, then I insist you click on any of the selected links that you see here. Here's one about the video games that Michael Jackson was involved with. Keeping the horror theme alive, maybe this video will be up your street. The story of the first ever survival horror. Move over Silent Hill. I'm also aiming to review every single Disney movie and find all of the video games attached to each one. That's over 50 videos. If you like the video and you want to see more content, then make sure you click on that funky P shape to support the show over on Patreon. I upload a new video once a week, with the main video going live every Saturday. So please show your support by spreading the word. It really would help the show out more than you know. Now before clicking on that subscribe button and following me over on Twitter, I suggest you move your little asses over to Retro Game Geeks. You know, just to see what all the fuss is about. And while you're on the site, make sure you keep a couple more tabs open and check out the websites Retro Unlim, Gamester81 and the upcoming but fabulous website Whizbar. All of these sites host my videos and are great ways to find new content, not just by me, which should always be your top priority, but to also check out some YouTubers that you may not have heard of. I find that this is probably the best way of discovering brilliant and upcoming YouTubers. And it's basically what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, pretty much non-stop. Anyway, that's enough plugging from me. This is DJ Slopes signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.